Hey, I'm Girli, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I'm hanging out here in LA with Girli, and I'm super excited. This is the kickoff of your tour here in LA. I want to know what it's like for you, especially with this particular tour, since there's a lot of fly-in dates. So how different is the prep for these kind of shows?
Yeah, I've never done a US tour where there hasn't been flying between the shows. I
Yeah.
think being from ye old little England, you kind of forget how massive the US is. And, I think the longest tour I've done here has been like 10 dates.
Yeah.
So driving between all of those shows, it's kind of not enough to justify it. We'd be driving for like 40 hours.
Right. More than the tour itself.
Right, exactly. We'd spend more time driving. We've done 3 tours. This is the 3rd tour now that we've done here, and we've kind of flown for all of the shows of those tours. So I'm sort of used to it at this point. You know, I've got a good groove with it. You know, I have my special like hacks for the plane. You know, I've got my little like goes under the seat bag that also has a little, handle, and I don't know, I get really like geeky about it.
You've got it down.
I've got it down. So I mean, it's fine. I mean, I think one of the things that's sometimes a concern as a vocalist is if you're going on planes and there's all this like aircon, but I have my little vocal steamer. I've got all the gadgets basically. So no, I'm good, and I'm so stoked that air travel exists so we can play all of these shows. And
seriously, in such a short amount of time, which is perfect.
Fully. So yeah.
Now this tour is in support of the upcoming sophomore album, which we are all excited about, Matriarchy. Talk to me a little bit about like that creative process for this record, and when did you know that you were starting to work on this album?
It's really funny. I didn't realize I'd made an album, or I was making an album, until I'd finished all the songs for it. Whoopsies, made an album, which I think was kind of a liberating thing, because I sort of went into the songwriting sessions, the studio, over a period of 6 months, just wrote like 40 songs. And then from that came 14 songs on the record. And I mean, honestly, I was just going through a lot. It was a time I had had a big breakup, and then I was in a very transitional period in my life, and sort of like growing pains. And then, having a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and it was just an outlet really. A lot of the songs, I'm going to say 2/3 of the songs on this album I wrote, left the studio and was like, wow, that sucked. I'm never going to listen to that one again. Wow. And then a month later, I'd sort of revisit that demo and have a completely new like perspective on it. So I think that for me, it has now become my like favorite way to make music, is like think that it's never going to be released. So there's no pressure.
You have to lie to yourself.
Yeah, so lie to yourself. And then the concept, I suppose, after I realized, okay, I have this album, this sort of matriarchy concept and building like the visual story of it all kind of fell into place quite easily, because I realized like these songs are all me, my stories from my world.
And that theme was like just showing itself.
It was there. Yeah. She wasn't going away, so then, when it came to shooting the videos and the artwork and planning for the tour and stuff, for me, I was like, okay, well, this album has to be called Matriarchy, and because it's my world. Matriarchy, I mean, for me, like, obviously the dictionary definition of matriarchy is like a state with, a woman as the head of state.
Right.
But for me, I was like, I kind of want to redefine this word.
I feel like that's more personal to you.
Yeah, and kind of for it to be like, okay, a matriarchy is a space for anyone who doesn't thrive under the current patriarchy to feel free and like they can sort of just be themselves. And for me, that's what I wanted listeners to feel when they listen to the songs and then come to the shows, and that they're in this sort of bubble where they can just feel free and safe, I guess.
I mean, at the same time, like as you're going through this process of like writing this album, going through these emotions, going through these like hard times in your life, like did you feel that it was easier for you to just like peel that Band-Aid off immediately and start writing and recording these songs? Or would it have been easier to look back or wait a few months and then look back into it in the studio and like kind of revisit those
Oh,
moments all over
revisit.
again?
Yeah, let's just bring up that trauma. I don't know. I think for me, like songwriting is definitely it's a cathartic process. It's kind of like journaling in a way, when you journal and you just sort of get everything out onto a page, it makes you feel like, okay, I've taken everything, all the mess that was up here, and I've just got it out there, and I'll come back to this and maybe it'll make sense at some point. And so that for sure was kind of the process of writing the songs for this.
When I'm listening to your debut album, and then I listen to the tracks that you've released so far, I feel like your vocals kind of changed. Like at least your voice kind of changed. I feel like the earlier music, you were a little bit lower in your register, and I feel like now you're going a little bit higher with your music. Was this like a natural progression? Was this like a thing that now you feel more comfortable with your voice? Like what all went on as far as the vocals go?
It is interesting because there are older songs of mine that I don't go back and listen to them. I just play them live, and then sometimes I'll like listen to it.
Did you know you wrote songs and they're out there?
Did I know? Yeah, right. And I don't know. I think my voice is funny because when I listen to the younger songs, I feel like my voice is like.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't know. I think it's definitely there were some projects in between my like first album, which came out in 2019, and then this second one. I had some EPs come out in between, and there were definitely songs where I was like, I'm going to sing like this now because it sounds more mature. But I don't know. I think I'm finding my voice, and I think definitely the kind of melodies and the kind of genres and sonics that you're go into making an album, your voice is always going to kind of adjust to those different eras, I guess.
True.
That's interesting you said that, actually. I guess you don't notice it. It's like you watch a video of yourself 5 years ago talking and you're like, did I sound like that?
What I sounded like?
So I guess that I don't notice that as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless whether it's the old stuff or now, like you have an incredible voice regardless. So it's like, I feel like you nailed every single song with whatever it was that happened during that time. With this new material, like, how do you feel that you've kind of evolved as a songwriter? Just because you've had so much experience, you've also worked a lot with Gil. So I'm curious, like, how that collaboration kind of evolved as well during this process.
Yeah. Oh my God. Gil Lewis is such an amazing producer. I mean, I think a lot of my favorite songs have come out of collaborating with people in the most kind of unlikely last minute way. Like another one of the producers on this album, Zone, who's this amazing producer based in LA. We ended up writing a song together because someone else canceled on me on the day, and then we got in super late on that day. It was like 4 p.m. and we were meant to finish at 6 p.m. and we were like, oh, all right, let's just write something. I don't know, whatever, we're here now. And it ended up being one of the songs on the record. And then we just kept writing and stuff just kept. It was like, like song vomit. So, and in terms, did you say about my like songwriting process?
Yeah, the songwriting process.
I think I've just become more confident as a songwriter because I've tried to stop the constant second guessing because I'm a big overthinker. There's literally a song on the album called Overthinking. And I was sort of finding that I was going into the studio and writing music and just being plagued by this feeling as I was writing of like, is this good enough? Is this this? Is this this? And when you're in the middle of that process, you can't really tell what it's going to sound like to you in a few weeks' time when you listen back. So I sort of stopped that voice. I was like, you know what, just write whatever comes to you and have the confidence that this is going to be good, even if it won't be. And then, that's will, make the songs feel more authentic, I guess. And make the process more enjoyable for
absolutely.
me. So I think I definitely have more confidence in my own abilities, I suppose.
With that confidence, does that also like include like your ability to be more vulnerable with your music and to your audience? Like, is that something that you felt like in the beginning was a little bit challenging, or did you feel that from the beginning you've just were easy to just let out those like raw emotions and those extra vulnerable touches of your life?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I've definitely always like worn my heart on my sleeve. I find it quite difficult to not talk about my feelings,
Yeah.
which is a nightmare in some situations when it's not appropriate to talk about your feelings. But I think when I first started releasing music, I felt like, oh, the best way for me to express myself is to kind of like scream at the world, and like all the vulnerable stuff can stay in here, and I'm just going to be like, "Wah!" And you know, now I definitely feel like, oh, the power is in the vulnerability. It's in the like, you know, the softest part of me, and the screaming. The screaming still happens, but you know, I guess it's also, you know, as you get older and you mature, you find, I guess, more appropriate. Not appropriate's the wrong word. I get you find different ways to express emotions. You know, I think when you're younger, you're just kind of like, rah, 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 you know? That's the official term for that.
During the 14 tracks on this album, which one would you say that has really challenged you the most? Whether it was like vocally, whether it was in the writing process, or whether it was like trying to finalize this record?
I definitely think I shoot myself in the foot a lot of the time when I write melodies in the studio and then I go to play them live, and I'm like, this is high. So, I mean, Matriarchy, that was one of the first songs I wrote for the record, and that is a big, booming, like, that's a vocal performance right there. And, you know, it was so fun to do in the studio. And then when I play it live, I'm like, hello, this is hard. So I think that's challenged me, but in a good way, because my vocals have become a lot stronger live. And then songwriting wise, I mean, I think, like I said, there was a lot of second guessing and overthinking. And then, you know, during the process of writing, and then I think halfway through, I sort of started to gain a bit more of a confidence about it. But I think that was, you know, I think writing this album has made me a better songwriter and artist and person.
Going back to like writing Matriarchy and then like going on stage and being like, whoa, this is challenging. And then you perform on stage and you go from a song like that to a song like Nothing Hurts Like a Girl, where it's like more upbeat, more dancey. How does that really impact you? Do you consider that when you're in the writing process? Like, oh shit, like this is going to hurt me when I'm on tour? Or do you just let it go?
I wish I did, honestly. I feel like studio me has like something against live show me, because
it's like Instagram versus reality.
Yeah, fully. Studio me is like, yes, let's get it. Let's do all the difficult melodies and leave no space for breathing. And then come on tour and I'm like, Hannah, who's my backing vocalist, I'm like, you're going to have to sing like quite a lot of this with me.
You're about to be the lead singer today.
Yeah, you are the lead singer. I mean, my vocal coach has always told me, like, you should start, you know, really thinking more about the live shows when you're in the studio. And I'm like, no, like, let's just make the best song. I mean, it definitely challenges me in a good way, like I said. And it's so interesting when I first start playing a song live, compared to if I've been playing it live for a year, my vocals become so much stronger because, you know, you're literally like, there's a muscle in here working and getting, you know, more used to like lifting the weights of that song. So that's really cool to watch.
Six pack right here.
Yeah, six pack ripped right here.
Which song would you say that was the most fun to kind of create on this album?
Probably, definitely, like Nothing Hurts Like a Girl was a really fun one.
Yeah.
Because it was just like very tongue in cheek. Like those lyrics are really silly and fun. And Matriarchy as well, actually, because those like some of those lyrics, I was like, this is never going to come out because this is too ridiculous. Like, this is too risque, and everyone loves it. So, but you know, I think there's a song on the record called Overthinking, which hasn't come out yet. It'll come out, you know, when the album drops, and that was like so amazing to write for me because it was like just pouring all of these sort of things I had been scared to talk about before, about how like being an adult is just overwhelming. Like, I find it hard to remember to do my laundry and like all this stuff that I was like, oh, this is too lame to write a song about. And then I was like, no, I think a lot of people relate to this, you know? So, yeah. You're like, yes, I do.
Do you feel like this album you've reached that destination of where you want to be vocally and sonically with your music? Or do you feel like you're still trying to test those waters out?
I think it's funny you say that because there is a song on the album called Out of Breath, which I'll be playing at the show tonight, which is about like, it's funny. It's called Out of Breath, but it's fully not about that. But I love how you giggled and you were like, out of breath, like singing,
all right,
getting out of breath.
How is this going to work?
It's quite literally about running out of breath on stage. Yeah, Hannah. And it's about this idea of like what you want always being like you know how they dangle a carrot in front of a donkey,
right?
But the carrot always stays right at the same point that and the donkey keeps going. And for me, like I find that's a good analogy for like how I am with my ambitions, and that comes to ambitions of like career, but then also ambitions like artistically. And there's always just something more. There's always something more I could be doing, or this is great, but maybe like this could be better. And and I think with this album, it is the first time in a really long time where I've been like, I'm so happy with this. Like,
that's good.
It's so brilliant, so refreshing. And I know after it's out and after we've toured it, I'll be like, okay, what next? And I'm not sure yet, which I think will hopefully reveal itself to me.
Did you
soon? Hopefully.
Did you find yourself switching titles of the album?
Yes.
Was it originally Hurt Like a Girl?
It was. It was originally called Nothing Hurts Like a Girl, and pretty much up until like we were about to like send the vinyls to print, it was that. And then I don't know, and then I thought something like isn't clicking with the we had this concept of like the frame and like the album artwork is me in this frame, and I was thinking, well, that is because it is like hinting at the theme of taking back your own image and creating it, and then also about the sort of erasure of women and LGBTQ plus kind of people from history, and how you go into a gallery and you don't necessarily, like an art gallery, and you don't necessarily see paintings of all of the people that it should be about. And I thought this has to be called Matriarchy. Like this is literally like I'm talking about this with the artwork and with everything. And and then I was like, sorry, like to my label, like, can we change the title? But I'm so glad I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this drops May 17th. Which
does.
It's one of those things where it's like, I can't wait for this to drop, but at the same time, the year just started, so I don't want it to already be May.
Yeah, so. Right. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, it's so soon. Yeah. No. Let's time. Yeah. Let's get people salivating.
At least for now, we get to enjoy it live. We get to experience whatever songs you perform from this album live.
Fully.
To close us off, like during this entire experience of this album, what have you learned about yourself that you didn't know before?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. I think I've learned that I am a lot more capable of writing music that's kind of, I suppose, like genreless. I don't know. And I think even though, of course, the term pop is such a wide term. I mean, there's so many different facets of music and writing and artists that fit into that umbrella term, which is amazing because I think the word pop is so exciting. Yes. It's like, whoa, that could mean anything. But I definitely think there are certain songs on this record where musically I'm like, wow, I would really never have thought I could write a song that sounds like that. Yeah. And definitely there are a lot of like more chill songs on the album where I'm like, amazing, because I feel like usually I just write 10 songs that are all like upbeat bangers, and it's like maybe have some variation. So yeah, I've learned that about myself, and I've learned that I am I've learned boundaries. I've learned how to be the matriarch of my own matriarchy.
Nice.
What a beautiful way to tie it up.
That is the best way to tie it and to close it. So boom, mic drop right there.
Except I won't, because I don't want to ruin your equipment.
Well, Girli, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see what happens in 2024. I feel like this is going to be the year where more people get to know you, more people get to experience your music and your performances. So
hopefully.
Thanks for hanging out. You guys be sure to check out Girli. Sophomore album, Matriarchy, is out May 17th. And thanks for watching on Front Row Live. If you enjoyed this interview, there's tons more on the channel, so please be sure to subscribe, and thanks for watching.